Hi there, Daniel Seberg in the Startup America HD Social Lounge, and I'm joined right now by Christine Herron, who is the Director of Intel Capital.
Well, there are many directors.
Oh, sorry, a director.
I am a
at
director.
Intel Capital. Thank you for that distinction. I want to give a shout out to your colleagues, of course.
Absolutely, there are like 80 of us.
Okay, oh, okay. Absolutely important. All right, so talk to me about the trends that you're seeing these days as a big company like Intel, trying to find those diamonds in the rough. You know, it almost seems like finding a needle in a stack of needles because there are so many companies out there. How do you spot the ones that are worth working with?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of questions buried in there.
Yeah.
So I think as far as, where are we finding things of interest, some of the themes that we are looking at across Intel Capital, because as I mentioned, it's actually a dozen different groups inside Intel Capital, both international and domestic. And then domestically, we actually have a bunch of sector focuses. But some of the unifying themes are around connected devices. Mm-hmm. And if you look at a world in which people have a live connection all the time, how does that change our behavior and how we interact with technology, how we interact with information, how we interact with each other? Because my connection to you is not necessarily limited to you being live and in the room with me.
Sure.
Not that this is not the best way, of course.
Right.
So if you look at connected devices, there's a lot around that theme. That's very, very interesting in the market right now. There's a lot around what we like to call the compute continuum. And this is where you say, okay, so I'm going to use my smartphone, I'm going to use a feature phone, I'm going to use a tablet or a laptop or, you name it, right? How do I get a persistent experience across all of these things? How do I have a great experience whether I'm on my smartphone or I'm on my laptop and maybe I'm even in the same application? Or I at least want to achieve the same objectives and you as the vendor need to find a way to help me reach that objective in a way that makes sense for the platform.
Right, and for the consumer, wants to be, you want it to be seamless,
you don't
effortless.
Want to. And there's some great companies, not even necessarily ones we've invested in, although certainly we wish we had some of these.
Sure.
But there are a lot of great companies that that do that. So for example, GroupMe was just acquired, and what was wonderful
Which is a great way to organize your texts.
And that was the thing that was exciting is you could have the app on your smartphone. You could basically send text messages or direct messages through the web app, but it also just worked on a feature phone.
Right.
My mom is actually in one of my GroupMe groups, and
she gets it.
And she gets it. She can use it because it's just like a text message, and she knows like that's just the phone number for everyone in the family.
And those are some of the best companies, I guess, is that it's almost a no-brainer. When you hear about it, you think,
well, that makes so much sense.
Right.
And quickly followed by, why isn't someone already doing this?
Right.
There's this question,
this
sort of cascade of
that,
questions,
and,
that comes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of the big themes for Intel Capital, in general. I work with the consumer internet team, and so some of the things that we're looking at right now, very interested in all things mobile and social and commerce. There's a ton of very interesting things there. Personal utility is very interesting, and this is sort of this marriage of some straight consumer services with things that we might associate with business services, like storing things in the cloud or so forth, better search. So all of those bits I've been spending a lot of time on, and I've also been spending some time on some of the supporting infrastructures for that, which we also deal with in the consumer internet team.
So clearly a very vibrant startup community. Just a few seconds left. If you could give some advice to one that's out there looking to get the attention of Intel, what do they have to do?
Well, we are stage agnostic, so it depends a little bit on where they are. I love early stage, so I am officially the early stage representative at Intel Capital Consumer Internet. I believe it's one of the reasons I got hired. So I just love a great team. I want a great team that is passionate, that can evangelize that vision not only to their customers but to their partners and to new employees. And I mean, it sort of helps across the board.
Vision of whatever
articulating
they're
that vision, not only selling me but selling the engineering hire they need to make.
Sure.
And then at the same time, folks that really understand customer acquisition. And so if you can do something that you've got a great team, you're doing something disruptive to the market, and you figure out how to actually acquire customers for that thing, I am going to jump up and down with excitement to work with you. That was like this magic triad.
You could jump up and down right now if you wanted to.
I
wouldn't.
could.
No, you're all mic'd up.
How many seconds are left?
All right. Christine Herron, a director
at
Intel Capital. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.